He went away to like a treatment facility and came back and he just like never drank again. And I remember thinking like, well, I don't know if he was really an alcoholic because, isn't the path like a little less linear than that? Like, isn't there like some falling off the wagon that needs to happen? Or, don't you have to blow your whole life up before you admit that you're an alcoholic? Like, we had a nice home. We had a normal childhood. We had all of like the normal things.
Welcome to the Let's Not Sugarcoat It podcast,
where every week we bring you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations
designed to motivate and inspire you on your journey through motherhood, relationships, and career.
We're your hosts, Alex
and Bella.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
Let's get into it.
All right. Well, welcome. Today we have Jamie Francis and Dayle Sheehan in the house, two sisters who have a podcast of their own called Proof It's Possible. And, we dropped the ball on getting their bios, so we're just going to let them introduce themselves. Yeah. So who wants to start?
Lucky Alex. She doesn't get to read.
I don't have to read. Yeah. We always read. Dayle, why don't you hit us up? Tell us a bit about yourself. You're coming live from Calgary, yes?
Yes, I am. Yes. I am based in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I am an interior designer. I am a website designer. I've been in the interior design business for about 20 years, and I've had a really full, happy, amazing career there. I got into website design more as a COVID thing, and just because I felt like all of my skills transferred from design to website design very easily. And it's something that's like almost the same principles, but like a quicker hit. And then Jamie and I have a podcast together, as well as we have a new little baby that we might tell everyone about on your guys' show today. But
she's dropping that. 2 minutes in and we're exposing secrets.
Hey. I'm a really bad secret keeper and this has gone on too long. So anyways, and then I am a best-selling author.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm Jamie Francis. I live in Kelowna. I'm a best-selling author. I always just say ditto because we do everything together. So right. I'm also a best-selling author. I also am on a podcast. I'm also doing all the same things as her. I'm a business owner. I own 6 businesses with my husband. I am a mom of 3. And public speaker.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. This weekend we found out that Jamie's son and my son went to preschool together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's such a small world.
Yeah. It was funny. Small world. Stepping stones. Yeah. That's preschool. Anyway. Yeah.
So we saw you guys at an event and you guys had an amazing story. Mm-hmm. Both of you sisters, and but you tell it so well, like how you guys intertwine. I have twin girls who at this point will tell you that they don't like each other, that they're not best friends, although there's little signs that they actually are. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit how you guys got started and tell us your stories, because it was so beautiful and we just want to share with our listeners who didn't get to join Anita at the event.
Well, Dayle and I have been, I don't think we went through that phase where we're we hate each other. Like every other sister duo that I know of is in our teenage years, we were enemies. We never had that really. We were always it's me and her against mom and dad. We were always a pack. So I don't know. It was just a pretty simple transition for us to be hey, let's do everything together. Let's do life together. Let's, be best friends as adults together. So,
yeah. But I also did you guys hang out as in high school and stuff? Were you friends?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many years are you apart?
2 years.
2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We had
Who do you think's older? Who do you think's older?
Oh, is this a trick
question?
No,
we're not going to answer that question.
We do it to my kids all the time. And they always get it
Who do I
wrong.
think's older? I think Dayle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
That was one older sister to another. I knew.
The kids are so funny though, because they think because I'm not a mom, I have to be a teenager. You're either a kid, a teenager, or a mom. Those are your choices. And I'm no, auntie's an adult. I also think, and I guess to answer your question about a little bit more about our story that we shared at the Wine, Women, and Wellbeing event in Kelowna, where I met you guys. I think Jamie already knew you.
I did not.
She didn't.
I have been in a wheelchair since I was 16, and it was the result of a surgery that had gone wrong. And so what ended up happening was I had an underlying neuromuscular condition that the doctor didn't really realize. And then what he ended up doing was doing a surgery on me that I wasn't able to recover from just because of the neuromuscular disease, as well as he made mistakes. And so I was off my feet for a significantly longer amount of time. And what that did was it forced me from going, I walked into the hospital without using any aids or needing any extra help or anything to, but my body had been showing some weaknesses. Like I was walking on my toes, and that's why I got the surgery. And so it made me leave the hospital in a wheelchair. And after an extensive, trying to get my strength back and realizing that this disease basically doesn't allow for that, I had to face my new life as a person in a wheelchair going forward at the very vulnerable age of 16. So now I am 21 or 21.
Whoa. Okay. I didn't know we were lying.
No, I also lie. I also have a lying problem.
We're spilling secrets and lying here today.
So
she's 41 for everybody.
So now that I'm 41, I've had lots of years to sort it out.
I'll be her fact checker. Yeah.
Exactly. Just give Jamie a beeper, and whenever I lie, she'll press the button. So I've had lots of time to sort it out, and it's a long process. It's one of those things where when you're really hit with something super hard and you're a kid still, you don't have the right skills. And so I went through a lot of ups and downs and all those kinds of things to get to a great mindset, to get to a place where I was like, you know what, other people that have this disease don't make it to 5 years old. That's sort of the prognosis. Mm-hmm. And so because I'm 41, because I'm healthy, I am in a wheelchair. My muscles do die a little bit every day, every year, every month, whatever. That is its own sort of thing to manage going on as far as mindset goes. Mm-hmm. But it's why I needed tools and skills even more. So I've basically dedicated my life to making sure I'm the happiest, healthiest version of myself and sharing some of the ways that I can help other people do the same thing.
Amazing. Yeah. So then when you say that you had, to get in the mindset, you're at this vulnerable age of 16, what things had to happen, I guess, or what had to shift in your mindset to get to where you are now, and how long? I know it's always I'm sure a work in progress, like anything in life, but how long did it take for you to be this, I've come to accept this is my circumstance, this is where I'm at, and I'll change my mindset moving forward? How did that happen?
Well, I'm a naturally very happy and positive type of person. So luckily I had that on my side. And so I just had to look at it as one step at a time. And what I always thought, I didn't know the term for this at the time, but what I started doing was proving that it was possible. Essentially, that's exactly why Jamie and I named our podcast that, because
I love it.
You have to build self-trust. So I had all these ideas, and I call them my yeah buts. They were I would love to go to college, yeah, but I can't live on my own. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not independent. And then I was well, I need to make money. Yeah, but I can't get to work. I don't have a career. I'm not, able to even get out of the car by myself. So, and then I'm well, what happens when I got to the stage where I was well, I'd like to start dating because I'm, in my 20s, and that's what everybody else is doing. That's what all my friends are doing. So I had all these stories about why I couldn't do the things that I dreamed of doing. And so I started with the easiest one, which was just don't get left behind, go off to college. Your friends are all going off to college, so do it too. You'll figure it out. And with a ton of help from my parents, I took that step, accomplished that, finished college, did the thing. And then you get home and you're okay, well, now I have to start over. Now I don't know how to go to work. I could go to work, but I don't know how will I get out of the car? How will I manage to push myself in the snow? All the little logistical things that other people just hop out of their car and run in the place if it's cold. I'm well, I can't do that. So I had to try. I had to go out and do the actual thing. And I think that that's such an ultimate lesson when you do have a big, exciting, scary thing on your mind or on your heart is you can think about it all day, you can dream about it all day, you can see it in your mind, you manifest it, but until you start acting on those things, they might as well not be in your brain, because if you don't do the thing, it will not happen. You have to meet, you know, the universe or God or whatever you believe in halfway.
Yeah.
And your half is trying, is going out there and acting. And so I acted towards my goals, and then I saw like, okay, I did this one, and then I did that one, and then I had a job, you know, and I obviously the road to like getting here has been up, down, up, down, up, down. But that's the number one thing I could say is get out there and try.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing story. And then, you know, as a sister, obviously you went through something as well. Because you were watching your sister.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I was like 14 at the time. So I was like, this is really scary and confusing. And I think at 14, I was just like putting so much trust in like the doctors and so much trust in my parents. And so I was just kind of following everybody else's lead. And I think because our parents are so like, they're such good advocates for her, that I was like, as long as they're okay, I know it'll all be okay. Like whatever that looks like, I have no idea, because you're 14 and you have no control over anything. But I was like, as long as they're okay, then I know we'll all be okay. And so that's just kind of, I had to like blindly believe that it would all just like pan out. And it did.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think that that's part of why we stayed so close, is because luckily Jamie's like a great human being. So she wasn't like, oh, you know, mom and dad need to help you all the time and everything's about you now. She was very like, you know, she was into her like getting her first job and having boyfriends and doing her teenager stuff. So she didn't mind that they were turning a blind eye because they were maybe a little busy, and was, you know, it gave her like a little more freedom than even she probably realized at the time. But also, I did need her help all of a sudden. So I used to be the older sister that was like, you know, the leader or whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm like, can you help push me? Can you bring me into the school? Can let's drive to school together? You know, like we weren't. And also our parents didn't let us not be friends with each other a little bit. Like one time I remember saying that I wasn't going to drive her to school because we were fighting in the morning. And my mom's like, yeah, you are, or else you're not driving yourself to school either. You can walk. You both can walk. So I was like, okay, we're friends again. Get in my car.
Yeah.
I love that. And do you, Jamie, you have your 3 kids. Do you feel like your kids are friends? Like, has that?
It's been a long road. I think they are now. I think 3 is always a different dynamic than 2. And I didn't grow up with a third sibling, so it was all new to me. And then we are the same sex, so I think that you naturally have more in common with same-sex siblings. And so adding a boy, like I have 2 girls and a boy, and so my dream was that the 2 girls, they're the 2 older, that they would just like fall in love with each other and be very best friends. And then that didn't happen. Like when the older one, she was almost jealous of the middle child when she arrived, and that was like a whole new thing for me. I'm like, you need to sort this out. And now that they're older, I would say that they're so close, and they're very much like would go to bat for each other. And if someone's having trouble at school, the other one steps in, and like it's so sweet, but it has not been like a smooth road.
And how old are your kids?
They're 10, 8, and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine are 11 going on 17. So that twins are.
I know that 10, 11 age. Woo.
Yeah. So, but I do feel like when it's funny because when they are together, for the most part, they're friends. But you add a friend in the mix, it's like a war. Because they're fighting for the attention of the other ones, right? So we're trying something new this year where we either invite 2 friends or send for play dates, is one will go and hang out with that friend so they can have a bonding experience instead of them coming as a pack, right? Because it's oh, the twins. It's always, oh, the twins. There's no identity. So,
Well, also they look alike, right? So then people are just so... Like, I think you just maybe people forget or they're not thinking about it. But like somebody said at Holland recently, they were like, because I was talking to Kaylee and I was like, okay, thanks, Kaylee. And somebody was like, how can you tell them apart? I'm like, well, how can you not?
People.
They're not the same person, so try harder. Yeah. Like, just try harder. They're not the same people.
Yeah,
but people are so quick to be like, no, you're the same person. You like the same things. It's hard.
I feel like with my son too, if you add him into the mix, my girls will play nice all day together. And then if my son comes home from hockey or something, it's like it just upsets the apple cart because the middle child will play with both her brother or her sister because she's the middle. So she can either play up or down. Whereas the oldest and the youngest are like oil and water and they will never play together. And then they have this like, I don't know, this fight for who gets the middle child.
Right.
Well, that's nice for the middle child because usually the middle child is always forgotten.
She's also the like punching bag. Like, not actually punching bag, but if they want to blame anyone, they immediately go to her. I'm like, no, she's so sweet. Stop that.
Stop that. Oh, and also like the energy of I didn't like when everyone was always like, oh, boys and girls are different, and then I have a boy and a girl. I'm like, wow, they really are, and the energy level is just different, and the way they express anger and frustration can be different.
The amount of calories they need to burn in a day. Like my son, if he's not running the equivalent of a marathon every single day, watch out because he will be like, destroying things and wrecking the house and throwing cars and doing things. Whereas the girls are content to like read a book and play a board game and color. And I'm like,
play dolls.
This is more my style.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always compare like girls, and this is bad, but I'm going to do it anyways because this is real, raw, and unfiltered.
You do it.
Unfiltered. To dogs where, the girls are those little like yappy as hell, but they don't need like that energy, right? Like they can do walk and all that kind of stuff. For not all, I'm just blanketing, but majority of the time they can sit and do their thing, yucky. And then there's the wild dogs, the big ones that need all that energy. If not, they'll destroy the house.
Exactly.
Like you said, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and it's all about your perspective and what you're used to. We were a girl family, so we really get the girl house vibes. Like, we get that it's highly emotional. There's lots of crying over things that aren't necessarily cry-worthy, but they're feeling sad about it. And my husband didn't come from like a really emotional family, so he's like, oh my gosh, the crying. And he doesn't even notice that Jamie's youngest, the little boy, is as wild as I see him as being. Like, because he's like, well, no, that's what little boys do. Like, they have to act like that. Like, it's in their DNA. And I'm like, yeah, but the girls are so much easier. He's like, no, they're not. They're crying all the time, or they're, like upset about something. And that makes him more uncomfortable than. So it's just interesting. And we don't have kids, so we're like, do your best, guys. You're all doing great. You're like,
my husband is just moving back into an all-girls household because he was working out of town for a long time, 2.5 years. And, so he was gone Monday to Friday, and then he would come home and be the weekend dad and, trip here and there. We would visit. But now he's full on, like, in the house again. And the girls are 2.5 years older. So when he left to take that job, I mean, they weren't where they are now. They're pre-pubescent, like they're starting to spot. Their boobies are growing. They're sweating. Like it's coming. The period is about to come up and bestow us. So,
the hormones are
raging. And now he's moving in, and my mom lives with us as well, right? So it's me, my mom, who's a unicorn, and she's retired, and she
likes to talk and think out loud too
all the time, and like she doesn't listen like my children. And then there's me, who's like controlling the whole shebang, and I'm 43 years old, and I mean my hormones are changing, and now the girls' hormones are changing. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's pray and that he survives the next 10 years with all women in the house.
Totally.
Totally.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in a house that I had 2 sisters, and then I also had 2 stepsisters. So it was like a lot of girls. Wow. It was girl-tastic.
Wow.
So like when we were all teenagers, it was just, there was a lot of crying, like you said, Dayle. Sometimes there was tears about all the things.
Nothing. And everything.
And everything all wrapped into one.
Yeah. And both myself and my husband are only children. So at that, we did not grow up with siblings. Our parents, the grandparents, don't have experience in parenting siblings. So we have no clue, none of us, what the hell we're doing. And then you throw the identical twin thing, identity crisis, like all that stuff. Ooh, I'm telling you.
We'll pray for both of you.
Thank you. That's why I'm off dry January.
I'm
People
currently
are-
just feeling for everybody involved.
Yeah.
You're all doing a good job.
So you kind of spilled something there at the very beginning. What was that all about?
Oh, yeah, Dale.
Yeah, well,
drop
let
it
Jamie
home.
tell. You tell.
You tell.
Okay. So, Proof It's Possible is doing this brand new thing that we're super excited about. It's called the Ultimate Girls Trip. So it's a mix of like dream building and business kind of masterminding mixed with like the most fun you can have with your best friends. And so we just kind of birthed this out of the like desire to go on a girls trip. And then it sold out immediately. And now we are ready to share it with the world. So it's very, very exciting. And there's going to be many more trips to come, but
So what's this trip? Where are you going? What are you doing?
Scottsdale, Arizona in April. And we have rented like this stunningly beautiful house with like, does it have a mini golf course in the backyard?
Yeah, a little.
Yeah. A little like mini golf
cute.
course in the backyard and a pool. And it's just like the most amazing, fun looking house on planet Earth. And then we have all these really cool things planned. So
That sounds
very
nice.
excited.
We're
yes.
super excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll have to learn
Get
a
on
little
the
bit
next
more
one.
because I do believe
Join the waiting list.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I do believe that women, because we take on so many roles from the very early stages, we're conditioned to be a certain, a good girl, a good student, a good girlfriend,
wife, a good mother.
We tend to lose ourselves, and that's we keep going back to this midlife awakening versus midlife crisis. While it's the kids are a little bit older, and you start looking in and saying, is this it? Is this who I am? Where did me go? So I do really strongly believe that I do girls trips minimum once a year. And I don't need like a week. I just need a Thursday to a Monday where I am not a mother. I am not a wife. I'm just me. I'm not a cook. I'm not a cleaner. And it's just, I'll do what I want to do. I want to hang out with you ladies, but if I want to sleep in, I'm going to sleep in. If I want to go shopping, I'm going to go shopping. If I don't want to, I will not, because I need to tune into who I am. And that's how we find ourselves, is when we give ourselves permission and space and let those parts, not go, but put them to the side and just have those weekends where we can connect as, women and ourselves are so important. So I'm so happy you guys are
that's
doing
exciting.
that. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. And you stole the words right out of my mouth. As a mother, I do feel like I completely lost myself. Everybody needs so much of you when you're in, especially in the early stages of motherhood, like where you're like, they need me to eat and change their diaper and do all the things. And then that's just like the stepping stones of where it leads you. Because next it's like, well, they need you to sign their agenda and make their lunches and have you filled out the permission form slip.
Drive them
and
here, drive them there.
and get them to all their sports and make sure their skates are sharp. And, there's just all these things that are required of you. And you kind of just out of necessity put yourself on the back burner. And it's remembering that it's okay to bring you back to the front. Like, you matter too. And I find after a weekend away, I'm so much better of a human being. Like, I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother. After I've had that little break and that reprieve from like being everything for everybody, I can come back refreshed and like, okay, I'm excited to be around you guys again. I'm excited to like get your cereal for you in the morning. Whereas before, I was a little bit resentful. Like,
you're like,
this again? Like,
Yeah.
So I'm just excited for all the women that have like jumped in and are willing to do this for themselves and to grow their businesses and to remember that they do have dreams. Because that's the other thing, is that not only do the day-to-day tasks pull us away from like, who we are on the inside, but they also really remove us from like that dream building phase, like that. Yeah. What do I want out of this life phase? Because you're just in the thick of like survival, like surviving everything. And then I want everyone to have that opportunity to go away and say like, oh yeah, I did have a dream to write a book.
Yeah.
Or a podcast. Like, I don't know if you ladies get this, but we get it all the time. Oh, I've always wanted to start a podcast. Well, then start the podcast. But they need that space and that belief in themselves. And until they have that belief in themselves, they can borrow it from us or the other women in the room or whatever that looks like. So we're thrilled.
Well, that is
that's
exciting.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say about it. Why it's important too to do these kinds of trips is because sometimes when you like say to your husband, like, I'm going to do this new thing, they're like very analytical, or they don't understand it because they don't believe that people would be interested in that because they're not really interested in the thing that you're thinking of doing or whatever. And you need to be around people who are also dreamers, who also believe in you, who with everything inside of them can like see you doing that and know you'll be great at it. And you will get to borrow their excitement for you around it, because we don't always have the right people in our immediate circles to be our champion, because they're scared for us too. You know, like they're like, well, how much is this going to cost? And like, what if nobody buys? And like, they go into all of the, like I was saying before, kind of buts on your behalf. And you're like, listen, I've got enough of my own doubts. I don't need you filling my head up with your doubts as well. So it's nice to get to dream in a space that everybody's like, yeah, girl, go get it. You know, you
go
can do
get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And I think what you're saying is so true about people in our closer circles sometimes not being the best people for our business goals and dreams when we lay them on the table.
Yeah.
It's like, because they are just so close to it that, like you're saying, it's all the, oh, but have you thought of this expense or this, but, and then suddenly your dream that you have just feels like it's crushed, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you start believing it because you're like, you're right, I thought about that, and now you're pointing it out again. So
it must be true. And you're like, confirmation, don't do it. But when you surround yourself with people who have either done it or doing something similar, then they're like, yeah, you can do this. This makes total sense for you. And suddenly you believe a different story.
It is. Like, and circling back to the dreaming again, you know, we do, it's funny because at one point, my husband and I, we used to sit in our tub, and that was our dreaming sessions, right? We'd have a glass of wine and we'd talk and dream about all the things that we wanted to do and have and be and so on and so forth. At some point, we realized a year and a half ago, it's like, hey, we actually stopped dreaming because again, the motherhood, the moving, we had renos, we like moves, like all the stuff, new job, you just stop dreaming. You don't allow it. And then you forget. We sat and we're like, how do we dream again? Like, it took us a couple of baths for us to even start. A couple of baths for us to even start that conversation. It's like, how do we dream? Like, what are our dreams? Like, where did we stop? You know, we acknowledged everything that we've done, which was amazing for what, you know, we decided. We said, I'm moving from Edmonton. We're going to Kelowna. I told my husband, actually, I'm like, I'm leaving. You can come if you want. I'm taking the children. I can't be here anymore. And then he's like, yeah, what do you want? I'm like, a ticket to Kelowna and a realtor and a for sale sign on my house. And that's what we did. And literally, you know, March was my birthday. And by May, we were already like in the thick of like selling the house and packing it. And then July we moved to Kelowna. Well, yeah. And we had no plan, but because we started dreaming and we were open to it, stuff started manifesting and stuff like the universe, like, oh, you need a contract to get you, you know, here you go, husband. He got poached to come and do this thing. And then I started meeting this, you know, all these ladies in this amazing community and starting to grow and manifest what we're doing today.
And I think that's so important to, like, a point to share is that, like, saying it out loud, your dreams can't live in your head. They can't be there forever. And as soon as you say it out loud, then the universe starts conspiring in your favor, and it starts opening doors for you, and it starts giving you new jobs and opportunities and new friendships that get you a little bit closer to that goal. But if it's just inside your head, no one even knows that it exists.
You gotta
be the best idea in the world.
And then you have to take action, because even though you're speaking it, if you're not actually taking the steps to get you closer, no matter how small, teeny tiny steps they are, you have to make just falling apart. Just taking those steps, and then that's when the universe is like, oh, they are serious about this. No, she really wants to. Okay, move there. So I put it out there, and man, was I scared? Hell yeah! I'm like, oh my gosh, I mourned my house because I loved my house in Edmonton.
Same girl, same.
Right? Like, and I was just like, oh my gosh, my, like, all these thoughts, you know, were coming in, but the dream was bigger than the thoughts,
than the self-doubt.
That's right. You know, and then
I also feel like it's one of those things that like I know what season I'm in. So sometimes I am in a do the work season and I'm not dreaming. I'm like, I dreamt, and now it's coming true. So I have to actually put in the work, and I do the work season, and I, get the tasks done, you get the move done, you get the whatever it is done. And then that's when there's space again, once not all the work is done, but you've got on top of whatever that goal was, whatever it looks like. And then you get to jump back into dreaming again and then dream something new. But you have to remember to jump back into the dreaming so that you didn't have one dream and then let yourself kind of stop and
stay
get
in work
stagnant
mode.
again.
Yeah. I think I'm in a work mode. That's funny that you say this today, because I just have so many ideas. And then today, like yesterday, I was planning out my week. I'm trying to time block better. And I was like, Alex, you just need to do the work now. You have all this work to do because you wanted this work. You wanted these projects. You just have to do them.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you confirmed that for me.
There's so much good in the work, because you know what the work can do? It pays you money, which like I know as women, we're not really supposed to say, oh, I love making money. But guess what? I love making money.
I love making money. Universe, are you listening?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you are supposed to say it. I think we're
I do
taught
too.
not to say it. But like even Bonita, who I brought up earlier, I guess she's on my mind. But she was like, it is great to be good at a skill, but then also to monetize that skill and be able to give back to the universe, and also like give back to your family and your life. So want the money. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And money buys you the opportunity to keep dreaming.
Yes.
It buys you the opportunity to have time freedom. It gives you all of these great opportunities. We live in a money world. Like without money, you can't do much. So it shouldn't be wrong to make it or want it or desire it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing. So tell us about, speaking of dreams, like when did you just sit down one day and you guys thought, you know what, we're going to do a podcast? How did this dream come to be?
I was like, it was never a dream of mine.
No,
I did it kicking and screaming. I went to this mastermind that was totally amazing and transformative. And I was like, I had just started my business about helping the loved ones of addicts. And all these people in the room were like, you have to write a book and start a podcast. And I was like, oh, I'll write the book. I am not starting the podcast. So that's what I started to do. I started to write the book, and I was like, this is my goal for the year. I'm going to write a book and I'm going to share my story, and it's going to help other people. And then in writing the book, everyone's like, okay, so how are you going to market the book? And I'm like, I don't know. Marketing's not my forte. And then one of the girls that was at it was like, you need a podcast. You need a podcast. You need a podcast. And she was just relentless. And she's a good friend of mine. And I was like, honestly, just to get you off my back, I'm going to start the podcast. But then I never actually signed the contract, and I never jumped in. And then Dayle and I went to a different kind of dream building event. And we were listening to one of the speakers on stage, and we were sitting side by side, and I just wrote the name of the podcast on the notebook that was kind of in between us. And I was like, we need a podcast. Like, it was just like the universe hit me with like 1,000-ton message that like, this is what it's called and this is what needs to happen. And within like a couple of weeks, we just started a podcast.
And how long have you guys had it now?
When did we start?
We started the first week in August. So it's like, I think we have like about 25 episodes only.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you're on the right path.
Yeah. I loved it. I listened to it last week. I'm doing this walking thing where I listen to a podcast to make the walk go by. And I really loved it. I'm excited for this week's episode.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And I read your book. Your book is really good. I want to read your book too, Dayle. I read Jamie's book.
Thank you.
I cried a little bit. I just thought it was a great story. Like, I mean, it's your story, but you were just so vulnerable, and it was really well written. I really thought it was great.
Thank you.
I read Audible books. So unless Alex is reading, because she has this ability, like amazing skill to read 10 times faster than most people. So she can hammer out books. I listen. I can hammer out the listening book. So
next on my dream list is to put it on an
Audible.
That's
audio.
mine too.
Well, Ryan can help you with that.
Yeah.
Well, look at the universe conspiring in my favor.
Exactly.
We just talked about this, that we both have to get that done. It's got to happen.
It's on our to-do list.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of a snippet of what the juice and meat and potatoes of your book, and then we'll go to
my book is about my life loving an addict. So my dad is an alcoholic. He went into recovery really early on. Well, I was young. I think I was a young teenager. And I remember thinking like, what?
He's
No,
my
you can't-
dad too, by the way.
Oh my gosh, that's what you said also on the last podcast. Yes, like Jamie was talking
my
and Dale's
dad.
like, she's my dad too.
Well, and
by the way.
like the thing is, Jamie has blonde hair and blue eyes. I have black hair and like dark eyes. So people already assume like you're not real sisters though. So whenever she says my dad this, my dad that, I'm like, it's my dad too.
We have the same mom and dad, in
Yeah, we
case
do.
anyone is clear.
Carry on.
And I remember he went away to like a treatment facility and came back and he just like never drank again. And I remember thinking like, well, I don't know if he was really an alcoholic because, you know, isn't the path like a little less linear than that? Like, isn't there like some falling off the wagon that needs to happen? Or, you know, don't you have to blow your whole life up before you admit that you're an alcoholic? Like, we had a nice home, we had a normal childhood, we had all of like the normal things. And so I was really confused about alcoholism for a long time. And then I met my husband and things were great and we had a great relationship. And then his drinking just like progressed. And he was always like a very kind man to me. So it was not like he was like abusive and he always had a job and he always showed up to work. He never had, you know, what I believe to be like the signs of an alcoholic, which was like drinking out of a paper bag, you know, a Mickey straight first thing in the morning and you're homeless because you don't have any family because you've burned every bridge. And that's not what his life looked like. But he had to admit that like alcohol just wasn't serving him anymore. So he went away to rehab and, it kind of just started this whole, I don't know, uncovering of what it was like to love an addict because at times it was just so tumultuous. I spent so much of my life just searching for clues that he was drinking again and like searching the house and checking the garbages and scouring and smelling his breath and getting in close to see if I could smell a hint of alcohol. Like my life had been so manipulated and I was so manipulative in my actions that I was like, this is toxic. This is so toxic. And I just share the story of what it's like to love an addict. Because lots of people, when someone says like, I'm an addict and then they're off to rehab, everyone really like rallies around them and fluffs them up and is like, what can we do to help you? And I felt really alone in being at home with all three kids and being, you know, the caregiver for these children and having to keep the house in order and having to make sure the businesses were running. I'm like, woohoo, what about me? Like I'm the one who's really struggling. He's on a cushy vacation at rehab and here I am all by myself. And so I just wanted people to realize that there's this whole struggle that happens with the loved ones too. And they don't all look like mine. Like the struggle is always different, but that there is a struggle in loving an addict too. And there are so many dysfunctional personality traits that you pick up in your like desire for survival, I guess. And like emotional survival more than anything that you become accustomed to that just can't serve you forever. They might have served you in that moment, but they just can't serve you forever. So it was like just finding that happiness all over again and like letting go of the anger and the resentment and all of the things that had come out of his drinking and being like, my life is my life and I got to make it big and bold and beautiful and amazing and happy because no matter what happens with him, I'm still me. Like I'm still me and I can either have a great life or a really shitty life. And it's my decision to choose that. So that's what my book is about. And I hope that people that are going through it read the book or listen to the book one day and feel a little bit less alone if that's the situation they find themselves in. Or if you're just curious because you might know somebody who loves an addict or you're just curious what the chaos looks like in the mind of someone who loves an addict. So yeah, that's it.
No, yeah, it's a really good book. I highly recommend it for sure.
And just so the listeners know, because people are always very, very curious, I'm still married to the same guy. He is sober, and we're very happy and have a great life. But
Yeah,
hate to spoil the ending, but
the beginning.
No, yeah. And I think your book opens with you talking about kind of the whole questioning the stigma around addiction, like white collar addiction, all that people talk about. And it is true. Like, I think I told you, I've been thinking a lot about a friend of mine who, as a kid, she was kind of labeled the kid with a dad who was an alcoholic because her dad lived on the wrong side of the tracks. He drank every night out of a Mickey. Her mom died of an overdose from drugs. And then on the other side of town, you had my parents who went to golf club events and country clubs, would come home sloshed quite a bit, but that wasn't considered an addiction versus in people's mind, right?
Yeah.
So I love how right off the hop you challenge the stigma of what it means.
What is not.
What is addiction? What is a drinking problem? What is alcoholism? All of that. So
Well, our dad used to say, I just have an expense account to do it with, so it looks better, because he wasn't a drinker that drank every day. Even he sometimes won't, I think he only averaged probably 3 days a week, but when he started drinking, he didn't stop. So although it was a nice bottle of wine at a customer client lunch, he wasn't making it to dinner at home on time that night, very likely, because he would then go to the hockey game, and then he would do, he'd stick with this client all day drinking, and he didn't have that off switch. And for him, that was his definition of it not working for him. He's like, if I can't say, okay, I can have the 2 glasses of wine and then leave and go home and finish my day or my night, or a glass of wine, that's not how his brain works. So he's like, for me, this does not work.
yeah, no, I like that you challenge the stigma about
his
it.
number one thing was that people said, well, you're not an alcoholic, because if you're an alcoholic, I drink more than you. My dad's like, yeah, but it's not my definition isn't necessarily your definition. You have to decide for yourself. It's about how is it impacting your life?
Yeah, I think it's the impact and how, you're showing up,
Exactly.
where you need to decide. Nobody can decide for you. It's when have you had enough? When do you
Exactly.
feel like you need help? Yeah.
And it's so interesting because people often, when we're around and if they know our story, they feel very judged. They're like, oh, God, I don't want to order a second glass of wine in front of you or whatever. And it's like, my husband is honestly the exact opposite of that. He's always like, no, you do you. I have no judgment because I only worry about me. And I would say he does such a good job of keeping his side of the street. He doesn't care if you have 400 drinks, if that's what is best for you or you think is best for you. He's like, it's not my job to label you as anything.
Yeah.
Police how much you're drinking. So don't worry about doing it in my presence. But
For sure.
Yeah, cool. And Dayle, what's your book about? Tell the people.
My book is my story of being in a wheelchair at the age of 16 and just getting a hold of my mindset and my limiting beliefs that came with that. And so, like I mentioned a little bit before, I had what I call yeah buts, which are, yeah, but you can't do this now. You can't, you're not going to have a career. You're not going to get fall in love and get married. You're not going to be healthy, because all of a sudden when you're 16, you have the eating habits of a kid, you sit down in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. I gained a whole bunch of weight. I did not know how to eat properly. I did not know how to get any of the weight off once I gained it. So I had all these different areas of my life that were super important to me in order to be my best self. I wanted a career I loved. I wanted to be a healthy, happy, as healthy as I possibly could be within the body that I have. So there's certain things I could put on my list, I want to run a marathon, but I can't run. So, I had to stay within my limitations of what does healthy look for you now. So that meant the things that I could control were the food that I ate. I can't work out at the gym for 2 hours a day, but I can work out for 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day. So I do the things that I could do. And I just walk people through my story. I tell dating stories. I talk about the guys that I dated. I talk about having to tell guys that I was in a wheelchair, and go on a blind date with them. So it's very, very personal. And it's all the things that scare all of us realistically. I had the wheelchair as the outward, but story that could be the safety net, the catch-all for everything I was going through. But truthfully, all this stuff is just as vulnerable and just as scary for all of us. If you're newly single all of a sudden at 35 or 40, jumping back into the dating world feels just as scary as it did for me when I had to jump into it the first time in my 20s, because it's unknown, it's uncomfortable, it's vulnerable. Nobody likes rejection. Nobody likes to find out that something they can't change about themselves, maybe someone doesn't like. I don't know, like all the scary things. So, and I felt that way about all the different areas that I felt like needed change in my life, which was my career, my health, as well as my relationship situation, and just building confidence through all of those things and building the self-trust that I was capable of having exactly the life that I wanted. And it takes everybody through the process of how I got it.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm excited to read it.
I'm excited too. I'm excited to also start our project. I don't know if you guys heard, but we are doing Let's Not Sugarcoat It stories. So we're going to have 15 to 20 amazing women write a chapter.
That is fun.
And so we're really looking forward to starting. That's our new and exciting thing that's happening, along with Let's Not Sugarcoat It Talks, which we will provide a stage for these women to come and share their stories.
Amazing.
And
That's so good,
it's
you guys.
kind of,
I love it.
Yeah. We're excited.
So we're really grateful that you guys are here and sharing your stories. You guys, are very empowering. We love listening to you at events. And so, don't stop doing what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to finding out more a little bit about those girls' trips. Because, I know
it sounded
every
great.
lady needs a ladies' night.
We'd love to have you on one.
Yeah.
Are we done? We're at the end.
I don't know. I can't.
I don't
see
know
the
the time.
So Ryan, you need to-
Okay, well, we usually end with a few rapid fire questions. So, first of all, of the two of you, sisters, who's the one who's going to die on a stand being like, no, I am right. Even if they know that they're wrong, they're just the one who's going to be like, I'm right.
I don't know. We're both pretty self-aware.
Good. I like it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably more, I don't know.
The thing about us is if it's against each other, we're willing to talk it all through. But if it's against somebody else,
we'll both
we're basically
die.
linked arms and we will both die.
Okay, I love it.
We're forever on each other's team.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Nice.
awesome.
And then what do you think one lesson that your parents taught you that you kind of really carry forward in your life right now, both of you? What do you have on that?
One lesson. Yeah, you go.
Well, I mean, the thing about our parents is they're pretty amazing. So they taught us a lot about a lot of things that we both, I think, live in our life to this day. But for me, I think that our parents have a really, really open home. And what I mean by that is that they get along well, and the times in their life that they haven't got along well, they worked on it to get along well. And then their home is very open to other people and friends and family. Mm-hmm. And so they're always hosting people. They're always open to having someone come stay or whatever. So we got this idea that the more the merrier, the bigger the celebration, the better. Life's meant to be lived. They've always kept us connected to people. And so I don't know how to articulate that as being a whole lifestyle and mindset, but
I would have to do two. Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I would have to do my mom and dad separately.
Okay.
My mom was a bit of a trailblazer, and in the 80s, before it was new age parenting, she was see ya, kids, it's my night to go do whatever I want. And so her and her friends would go for dinner and do stuff. She was not taking no for an answer. So looking back, I'm wow, 2 days a week, she did not care if I scream cried at her feet and was don't leave. She was see ya, have a nice night. I'm not sticking around for this.
We would say why are you leaving us? She's I'm leaving you with your dad, who's the most capable person on the planet to care for you. So
right.
I'm not leaving you. You're fine.
So that like independent, like, put your own mask on first mentality, I was like, oh man, I could really use a little of that. So that was a great lesson. And then my dad is very like business minded. Like he's a huge risk taker, and he's like, if you don't go for it, you'll never have it. So just go for it. So I think those are the two biggest lessons that kind of like resonate with me still to this day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where can people find you both?
They can listen to our podcast, Proof It's Possible.
Okay.
My book is called Looking for Proof. Dale's book is called, you want to introduce?
Yeah, but what if you're happy?
Nice.
You can find us. My Instagram is Jamie D. Francis.
And mine is Dayle_Sheehan_designs.
Okay,
perfect.
We will have
and
that
we'll link that.
Yeah.
But thank you both for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been so fun.
Yeah, so fun.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you feel more empowered, moved, and inspired.
Be sure to check out the show's description and follow us on social media at Let's Not Sugarcoat It Podcast on both Instagram and Facebook.
Also, check out our YouTube channel where you can view and subscribe to our latest episodes.
What you have to say matters, so send us your feedback and ideas on what you'd like us to talk about so we can serve you better.
And remember, motherhood is a team sport.